Hi everyone, welcome to the 7th episode of Mahabharat Chronicles. So, in the last episode, we spoke about why Dhritarashtra could not become king and how Bhishma agreed to Shakuni's request and allowed him to stay in the palace of Hastinapur. So, now let's come to what happened to Gandhari. Gandhari was a pious lady. She was religious and devoted to God Shiva. She accepted her fate wholeheartedly. She loved Dhritarashtra and dedicated her life to his happiness. She actually had no bitterness or animosity with Pandu, Kunti, or Madri, and she also respected Bhishma and Vidur. She made a big sacrifice for Dhritarashtra. She chose to blindfold herself. Now, whether she wanted to share her husband's disability or she wanted to make Dhritarashtra feel less insecure, or maybe both. But in entire course of her life, Gandhari remained blind by choice. She became an epitome of faithful and sacrificing wife. But did that make her a better mother? What did she fail to see in future? Would the fate of her children be any different if she didn't blindfold? We would come to know in future episodes. Anyway, Dhritarashtra was very happy. For the first time in life, he felt fortunate. So both brothers lived happily with their respective queens. Palace became a happy place. Satyavati was also happy and satisfied. Satisfied to see her grandchildren settled in their lives, she felt that it was time for her to retire and seek peace. She decided to retire to the forest for the rest of her life. Bhishma bid her goodbye with a heavy heart. She was free of her duties to seek peace away from worldliness. But it was going to be long before I can be free too. Bhishma sighed as he saw her walking away. He was bound by his oath. He wasn't married, but he had a family to protect. It was a long journey ahead of him before he could find peace, and his trials had not yet begun. This reminds me of a poem by Robert Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. It was only a while before karma struck again. So it so happened that once Pandu was out hunting in the forest. He heard a sound that made him curious and he followed it. But he couldn't find the origin of the sound, so he shot an arrow which actually followed the sound and struck its source. This turned out to be a grave mistake. The arrow hit a sage and his wife who were meeting in the forest. By the time Pandu realized his mistake, it was too late. When he reached to see what his arrow has hit, both the sage and his wife were on the brink of death. Out of his anger for the reckless act by Pandu, the sage cursed Pandu. O king of Hastinapur, your demise will mirror mine. The moment you will engage in intimacy with any queen of yours, my curse shall befall you, and you will meet your end instantly. Pandu was taken aback. He tried apologizing, but sadly, the sage died after uttering the curse. Nothing could be done. Heartbroken and grief stricken, he came back and told everything to his wives and Bhishma. Once again, the palace was filled with despair. Pandu gradually lost interest in worldly matters, and despite Bhishma's utmost efforts to console him, he got depressed. Eventually, he renounced the throne and decided to retire to the forest as penance. Bhishma and Vidur tried to stop him, but Pandu left anyway. His wives Kunti and Madri accompanied him. The palace became sad, and the throne of Hastinapur became empty yet again. But Pandu's loss was Dhritarashtra's gain. It was like a windfall for Dhritarashtra, because left with no other option, he was made the king of Hastinapur. Vidut this time raised no objections as he did not see any other alternative. Dhritarashtra loved his younger brother. He was not a sadist. He had no ill will against Pandu. He too was sad for him and his queens. But more than sadness, he was happy for himself. He always wanted to be the king because he believed himself to be the rightful heir. So he felt finally luck was favoring him. He was getting all what was due to him. It's like everything was falling in place for him all of a sudden. Tacitus, a Roman politician almost 2000 years ago, have very aptly worded Dhritarashtra's psyche. The lust of power for dominating others inflames the heart more than any other passion. End of episode.